first thing that the Taliban did when they took Bagram, which we had abandoned in July, the Taliban takes Bagram on August 15th. The first thing that they do is they open those jail doors. Thousands of ISIS-K prisoners freed, dozens of al-Qaeda terrorists freed, as well as thousands of Taliban fighters. And remember, we then had to rely on the Taliban to provide security at Kabul airport. And part of how President Biden tried to comfort everyone with this terrible idea was by saying repeatedly, well, the Taliban and ISIS-K, they are mortal enemies, And so the implication there being we can count on the Taliban to stop an ISIS-K attack. Well, the first thing that the Taliban did, taking over Bagram, was free all these ISIS-K terrorists, including the guy who killed all those Americans at Abbey Gate. On top of that, we have the testimony from Tyler Vargas Andrews, a Marine sergeant, who ended up losing 2 of his limbs in that bombing. But before the bomb goes off, he testified that he believed that he had the bomber in his sights because U.S. intelligence was receiving detailed warnings about the bombing, that it's coming, that it's going to be targeting Abbey Gate, that it's going to be almost at a certain hour, and a detailed description of the bomber, which Tyler Vargas Andrews believed he had the bomber in his sights, but couldn't get permission from his commanding officer to take that shot. On top of that, and it's crazy that there's still more, is during our writing of the book, Kabul, we read through thousands of pages of Pentagon documents and records, which clearly just nobody else had gone through, because in there, a U.S. officer on the ground said that U.S. intelligence knew that ISIS-K was staging at a location about a mile away from Kabul airport before the bombing, and that U.S. military leaders asked the Taliban to assault that location. And of course, the Taliban never did. And on top of that, we had officers submit sworn testimony saying that the U.S. officers asked for permission to conduct an airstrike against an ISIS-K location in Afghanistan before the Abbey Gate bombing. But permission was denied. And it looks like part of why that permission was denied by military leaders was because of a negative response from the Taliban. And so all of these things combined just show that this bombing didn't have to happen. If we had simply held on to Bagram, it wouldn't have happened. And there were other things that we could have done along the way. But because of our reliance on the Taliban for security and because of the unclear rules of engagement, 13 Americans were killed, dozens of Americans were wounded, and 200 Afghans were killed as well.